My name is Olivia Jones, co-owner at Prism Spaces. I'm here with artist Emma Lyons, and we are about to have one of our very first dome discussions. Would you like to tell us what you're doing?
Absolutely. So my name is Emma Lyons. I am a self-trained abstract artist. Abstract and figurative are my favorite ways of painting, and it's always very colorful, very encouraging. The themes are often around self-love and learning how to take up space.
How would you say your art reflects your personal journey,
Oof.
if at all?
Oh, it very much does. So, as I said, the themes of my work always, while each inspiration is going to be different for each piece, they always revolve around the theme of self-love and learning how to take up space. Yes.
Is there any particular piece that you're most excited for us to experience?
Girl, you already know I'm like on the seat for this. So my favorite series and one of my most popular series of all time is called the Head in the Clouds series.
Okay.
This spans 3 women, one with her head in the clouds, one where she is submerged in bubbles under the sea, and one where she is up in the sky in space. And so through each one, it takes us through a journey of introspection, learning what's special about us, learning how to daydream, taking that and making it our own, of saying, how can I get deep with this? How can I be so unique and so exactly what the world needs? And then taking it out into the world and saying, this is what I have for you all. It's a beautiful journey that I think every creative and every entrepreneur takes by saying, this is what I think the world needs. Here's what I can bring to the world, and then here's me offering it to the world. And I really wanted to inspire even more because I feel like your members do that so beautifully. And so I felt this was just such a natural fit.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Why a co-working space and not like traditional gallery?
Absolutely. You know? I don't know about you, but I take a long time to process things. I'm a very slow processor. I am that person who texts 2 days later saying, what I actually really wanted to say was this, and now I'm overthinking things because I've had so much time to process. But I feel like in the moment, in a gallery event, you only get a certain amount of hours to process that. Throughout the co-working space, people come back to a piece because they come back to the work, and they say, you know what, the more I sit with that, the more time I'm given to really let that sink in or be inspired by that. That I think is really powerful, because I know I can't be the only one who takes time, who likes to make a decision with all the knowledge, with all the processing that I think a piece as colorful and as deep as mine deserves.
Absolutely. Okay. I love that. I'm so excited for them to experience the art. I know that it's just going to be, I don't know, it's going to be like one of those HGTV reveals.
What I love about Prism is that it doesn't feel like you walk into a regular office like you would anywhere else. This feels so holistic. You even have a space for yoga and naps in the middle of the day. You really take care of people. And so that's what I'm really attracted to about Prism Spaces.
Thank you so much.
So I know that you took over Prism Spaces when it was Platform. Tell me the story about how this came to life, from you and Tyshawn learning that there was a need for this, you taking over, you creating the name Prism Spaces, and just really making it your own. I would love to hear the story about how Prism Spaces came to life.
It's a fast story because it all happened relatively quickly. I'd say March of 2024, I'll just speak for myself, but I was in the garbage can of life. Life can be a garbage can. I was way at the bottom of the garbage can.
Under some bags.
With all the juices.
Yeah, banana peel.
Yeah. Okay. And in America, you need money to live, and I really needed to make some money fast. And so I was applying for jobs. At the time, I was getting back into real estate and leasing apartments, but I also wanted something to be season-proof. Things slow down in the winter, so I wanted something to supplement the income. So that is when I got on LinkedIn and I was looking for jobs. I found this community manager job at a co-working space. And I applied. I went in. I was originally going to be working, or I was applying to work up at the North Side location up in Ravenswood. I ultimately didn't get that role, but in April, I got a call back and he asked me if I'd be interested in the Wicker Park location because current community manager was leaving, and I was like, absolutely. Came in, trained for like a week,
Fast indeed.
Indeed. I had already had community manager experience and property management, so it really wasn't that far of a stretch. But when I got here, I realized that I was essentially running a business on my own with someone else's credit card, essentially, which is great. I highly recommend that. But within that, I'd say by, what was it, August? I believe it was August. The previous owner and I, we were taking apart desks, and it was a really hot day, and we were both like really very frustrated and just like wanted it to be over. And in this moment of frustration, he's like, "Why don't you just buy it?" And I was like, "Oh." And
That's
then
an
like,
option?
It's an option. And then something like wheels started to turn for me because I had already started feeling like, oh my god, I'm basically running this thing and like at part-time hours, and just didn't. I was just like, no. That's not a bad idea.
But you're very much CEO energy, so it was time for you to step into it.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
And so all of my ideas that I think are good, I ran it by Tyshawn, my business partner, to see what he thought about it, if he thought it was a good idea, and to my surprise, he was really excited. You do performance art.
I do.
Can you tell us a little bit about that and how it
Absolutely.
differs from your other works?
Absolutely. This one's really near and dear to my heart because I grew up a performer. I grew up a ballerina. Takes one to know one.
It does.
So I like to combine my visual art with my dance art by dancing paint onto the canvas. It is a very fully immersive thing where people can experience my art through my dance, through the music that I choose, through the art once it's finished, the actual visual art on a canvas once it's finished, and through the video of me dancing that. So they've got 4 different ways to be able to speak to these pieces.
Right.
It's really impactful, it's really powerful. It takes a lot more energy because it's somewhere between 3 minutes and 30 years of creating it, and which is with all my dance experience.
Right.
And then they get to see it in a very different way. They get to see dance in a different way. They get to see colors in a different way. They get to see how everything combines to have this one very ephemeral moment of being allowed, not being allowed. They get to have this one very ephemeral moment of experiencing being fully present.
Now, for artists out there that may be nervous to pull the trigger, nervous to showcase their art, get started, what would you tell them?
Oh my goodness. I want to start with, your art is not going to be for everybody. Your art shouldn't be for everybody.
Right.
There are people who don't like Starry Night by Van Gogh. So if there are people who don't like that, which is an absolute masterpiece of its time, and for an entire movement, then of course yours isn't going to be like everybody.
Right.
Don't feel like you have to take it personally. Just brush it off because art is subjective. It cannot be perfect. It cannot be for everybody. So don't put that expectation on yourself that you feel like it should have to be for everybody. Someone's going to walk by your art and not say anything because it doesn't speak to them.
Right.
For every one of those, there is someone who stops and starts to tear up because it does speak to them.
Have you had any challenges as an artist? I know that that's like, but like, tell us about it.
Sure. I mean, there's going to be challenges with every single business, but
Right.
I think art in particular, because artists in general are often so sensitive, that's why I say your art isn't going to be for everybody, so don't take it personally when someone doesn't love it. Because of that history of rejection that I have,
Right.
it has hurt a lot in the past, and so learning how to be like, all right, this person just doesn't like it, that's fine. It has to be okay.
Right.
That is a challenge that I've definitely gotten really good at overcoming. The other challenge that I have is learning how to separate working in my business versus working on my business. So I would love to be able to say I paint all day, every single day, but my creativity doesn't end there. I would say I paint about half the time. The rest is working on my business. It's just reaching out to galleries, reaching out to art fairs, submitting for those, making photos of every product, and driving it places, doing walkthroughs with commissions, of course creating those commissions, which that gets back to painting, which is very joyful for me. But there's so much research that I do, there's so much reaching out that I do. I get to have interviews with you. Like this, I get to say is working on my business, because not only do I get to say, this is me, I'm Emma Lyons Art, I get to say, this is also you, Olivia, this is Prism Spaces. And so it's really fun to be able to give back.
Emma, how do you measure the impact or success of a work?
Oof. So there are a couple different ways I do. The obvious one is sales. How fast an original piece sells, how many prints of that piece sells. My most popular one completely outshines the rest, and the original was bought before it was even finished.
Mm.
So that I know was a successful one. That one's called Out of a Broken Heart. Another way that I measure it is way more personal to me. I can't really prove it in numbers, but it's the reaction when I see people. I have had clients, I have had collectors, I have had entire art fair organizers and leaders of whole companies walk up to my art, especially this one piece in particular, it's my heaviest piece. They will stand there and cry because it means so that much to them. It's a very strong and emotional piece. And when I see that reaction, not only do I say, oh, did this one right, but I get to extend that even more. I get to talk to them about that. I get to be the part of their healing experience as much as my art does. So my job isn't done when that emotion happens, when I see that reaction with someone, but I know that that piece was already successful, and now we get to continue this success by being me.
Thank you so much for coming out to Prism Spaces. I'm so excited for our members to not only see this chat, but also to see your work in the space. I know that it's something that they're not expecting. It's something that we've been quietly working on since we opened. It's been a goal since day one. I'm so excited that you are making this dream come true.
Absolutely. It is my pleasure to
yes,
debut.
thank you so much.
Of course.